The call that shattered me. The divorce papers were barely cold when the call came. Jenna, I'm getting married next Saturday. It was Mark, my ex-husband of 8 years, the man who had looked me in the eye 3 weeks earlier and said, I just need space. It's not you, it's me. Classic, right? But this wasn't the we can work it out conversation I had hoped for. This was a public execution, a celebration of my replacement. Who is she? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Her name is Vanessa, he said, and I could hear him smiling, that smug, self-satisfied smile he used to give me when he thought he had won an argument. She's perfect, Jen. She's my dream woman. I hung up before he could describe her hair or her laugh or whatever other detail would twist the knife deeper. That night, I did what any self-respecting, heartbroken woman would do. I poured a glass of wine, opened his social media, which I had sworn I wouldn't check, and found her, Vanessa. She was stunning. Tall, blonde, with cheekbones that could cut glass, and lips that looked like they had been sculpted by an artist. Her Instagram was a curated museum of perfection. Yacht vacations, designer bags, and photos of her laughing in expensive restaurants. I felt sick, but something tugged at the back of my mind, a whisper, a ghost of a memory. I kept scrolling and scrolling until I found an old photo, a throwback captioned, "High school wasn't kind, but look at me now." The photo showed a group of teenagers at a school dance, and there, in the corner, was a girl I had almost forgotten. My blood ran cold. The girl in the back of the classroom. High school, 10 years ago. I was popular, not in a mean way, but in an invisible way kind of way. I had my friends, my spot in the lunchroom, my place in the world. And then there was her. I didn't even remember her real name at first. Everyone called her Mouse. She sat in the back of every class, shoulders hunched, hair covering her face. Her clothes were too big, her glasses were too thick, and her teeth, well, let's just say braces would have been an upgrade. She was the girl no one noticed, and when people did notice her, they mocked her. I remember one day in the cafeteria, a group of boys threw a milk carton at her head. It exploded. White liquid dripped down her hair, her shirt, her glasses. She didn't cry, she didn't scream. She just sat there, frozen, as everyone laughed. I didn't laugh, but I didn't help either. I just turned back to my friends and kept eating my sandwich. That girl, that forgotten, mocked, invisible girl, was Vanessa. But the woman in Mark's photos looked nothing like her. This Vanessa had a new nose, new cheekbones, new eyes. Her teeth were perfect. Her body was sculpted. She had been rebuilt, piece by piece, into someone unrecognizable. And now she was marrying my husband. The wedding. I didn't plan to go. Every rational bone in my body screamed, stay home, eat ice cream, let them have their fairy tale. But something darker, something rawer, pushed me out the door. I wore a simple black dress. Not vengeful, not attention-seeking, just present. I slipped into the back of the small garden ceremony just as the music started. And then I saw her. Vanessa walked down the aisle like a queen. Her white dress was simple but elegant. Her veil floated behind her like a cloud. Mark stood at the altar, tears in his eyes, looking at her like she was the answer to every prayer he had ever whispered. She was beautiful, objectively, terrifyingly beautiful, but I knew the truth. I knew the years of surgeries, the painful recoveries, the diet that turned her into a skeleton and then back into curves. I knew because I had seen the comments on her old posts. Plastic surgery queen. How much did that face cost? You'll never be naturally pretty. She had endured all of that to become this, and now she had chosen my ex-husband. Why? The reception revelation. I didn't stay for the ceremony. I waited outside, hidden behind a large oak tree, watching the guests file into the tent for the reception. Champagne flowed, laughter echoed. Mark looked happier than he had in years. Then Vanessa stepped outside. She lit a cigarette, which surprised me given how perfect everything else about her was, and looked directly at my hiding spot. "You can come out, Jenna." My heart stopped. I stepped out from behind the tree. She didn't look angry. She didn't look triumphant. She looked calm, peaceful even. I wore a simple black dress. Not vengeful, not attention-seeking, just present. I slipped into the back of the small garden ceremony just as the music started. And then I saw her. Vanessa walked down the aisle like a queen. Her white dress was simple but elegant. Her veil floated behind her like a cloud. Mark stood at the altar, tears in his eyes, looking at her like she was the answer to every prayer he had ever whispered. She was beautiful, objectively, terrifyingly beautiful. But I knew the truth. I knew the years of surgeries, the painful recoveries, the diet that turned her into a skeleton and then back into curves. I knew because I had seen the comments on her old posts. "Plastic surgery queen. How much did that face cost? You'll never be naturally pretty." She had endured all of that to become this, and now she had chosen my ex-husband. Why? The reception revelation. I didn't stay for the ceremony. I waited outside, hidden behind a large oak tree, watching the guests file into the tent for the reception. Champagne flowed, laughter echoed. Mark looked happier than he had in years. Then Vanessa stepped outside. She lit a cigarette, which surprised me given how perfect everything else about her was, and looked directly at my hiding spot. "You can come out, Jenna." My heart stopped. I stepped out from behind the tree. She didn't look angry. She didn't look triumphant. She looked calm, peaceful even. But why?" I whispered. Vanessa's eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw the rage underneath the calm. "Because I wanted to take something from you, the way you took something from me." "I never took anything from you," I said, my voice cracking. "You took my dignity," she said quietly. "Every day, you and your friends sat at your perfect table, eating your perfect lunches, while I sat alone, covered in milk and shame. You didn't throw the carton, Jenna, but you were the queen of the cafeteria, and a queen is responsible for what happens in her kingdom." The unraveling. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her that high school wasn't my fault, that I was just a kid, that I had my own problems. But the truth was, she was right. I had seen the cruelty. I had heard the whispers, and I had done nothing. "So what now?" I asked. "You married my ex-husband. You got your revenge. Are you happy?" Vanessa looked back at the tent. Mark was now doing a shot with his best man, completely oblivious to the fact that his new wife was outside having a conversation with his ex-wife. "Happy?" she repeated. "No, but I'm satisfied." Satisfied? "In 6 months, I'm going to leave him. I've already set up a private account. I've documented everything: his temper, his drinking, the way he talks about women." She smiled again, but this time it was sharp. "When I file for divorce, I'll take half of everything, including the house you two bought together." My jaw dropped. "You planned all of this?" "I planned it the moment I saw his dating profile 2 years ago," she said. "I recognized his last name. I remembered you, Jenna, and I remembered that you married a man who was just as cruel as the kids in high school. He just hid it better." She was right. Mark had a mean streak. He belittled me. He gaslit me. He made me feel small so he could feel big. I had spent 8 years shrinking myself for him, and I didn't even realize it until our marriage was over. "You're doing this for me?" I asked, confused. I'm doing this for us, she said, for every girl who was ever mocked, for every woman who was ever made to feel small. Mark is a predator, Jenna. He preyed on your insecurities, and now he's going to pay for it. The aftermath. I didn't stay for the rest of the reception. I walked back to my car, sat in the driver's seat, and cried. Not for Mark, not for my failed marriage, but for Vanessa, for Mouse, for the girl who had to rebuild herself piece by piece just to feel worthy of love. 6 months later, almost to the day, I got a text from an unknown number. It's done. He's devastated. I'm rich. Want to get coffee? It was Vanessa. We met at a small cafe downtown. She was wearing jeans and a t-shirt, no designer labels, no perfect hair. She looked normal, human. I'm sorry, I said before I even ordered my drink. She raised an eyebrow. For what? For high school. For not standing up for you. For being a coward. Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached across the table and took my hand. I forgive you, she said. But more importantly, I forgive myself for thinking I needed to change my face to matter, for thinking that marrying your ex would make me feel whole. Did it? I asked. She shook her head. No, but the divorce did. We both laughed, and in that laughter, something healed. Not completely, not magically, but enough. The lesson. Mark never knew the truth. As far as he's concerned, his dream woman used him for his money and left him for a younger man. Vanessa's idea. She paid an actor to play the part. He's now living in a small apartment, drinking too much, and telling anyone who will listen that all women are snakes. Vanessa used the settlement money to open a small bookstore, the kind of place she dreamed of as a bullied teenager. It's called The Back of the Classroom, and it's become a haven for outcasts, misfits, and anyone who needs a quiet place to belong. As for me, I'm in therapy. I'm learning to forgive myself for the person I was in high school, and I'm learning that revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's a girl who spent years and thousands of dollars changing her face, only to realize that the only person she needed to change was herself. But sometimes, just sometimes, revenge is watching your ex-husband lose everything while his dream woman buys you a latte and says, "We both deserved better." And that, my friends, is a story worth telling.